It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today, which is Tapio Saavala, who is the Policy Officer for the European Commission from the Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. And Tapio has worked in Finland as a special needs education teacher and as beginning my career also in special education needs. I think it is a great basis for someone to really understand the needs of our learners. So Tapio, may I introduce you now, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that you hear me well. And
we do indeed. And sorry if I may just interrupt you. There will be a bell at 8 minutes. It's just to help you know the time because it's hard when you're talking. So when you hear a little bell, it's just reminding you of the 8 minutes. Thank you so much, Tapio.
That sounds very pedagogical, I have to say. So thank you very much and good morning, everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to have a little introduction here after the Ministry and Minister of Italy. And I have to start also by telling that we are also very shocked of the things that happened in Paris, and our commissioner has sent her support to the French counterparts in France. But going into the topic, this lifelong learning in general, it always makes me happy to hear even the word, because I was working with this recommendation on key competencies for lifelong learning, the first part of it, and now we have a second version published in 2018. And I have to say that I quite often hear the question that, okay, to whom lifelong learning is for? And of course it is for pupils and students and learners, but it is of course also for all of us and especially for teachers. And this is exactly what you have been exploring and investigating and creating a good tool for self-reflection for lifelong learning. And this is of course ever more important today when schools are becoming more diverse, more multilingual, more multicultural, and if we take this idea of schools as learning communities where everyone is learning, where diversity is a richness rather than a constraint, of course it has an impact on teachers' competencies that are required and also to the ways that they are developing their competencies. And you referred to these council conclusions, and actually I can now tell you that we have taken a step forward and we have two very important communications out now, which are the communication on the European education area and another communication on the new digital education action plan. And if I try to capture, in few words what is there in those communications, it is of course adapting to the digital world and digital education while respecting and understanding the role of schools as communities, safe, respectful communities, where everyone is learning and there's a mutual support as a kind of key principle. But and then the other principles that I see very clearly are that we really need to make our schools more equitable, more fair, and so that they are supporting each and every learner. And without enthusiastic and motivated and well competent teachers, this would of course not be possible. So the question is that, okay, what is there in these two communications now to support teachers' lifelong learning? And first of all, if I start with this selfie, you remember that there was a selfie for schools to help them evaluate their digital readiness, and now the idea is that we would develop a selfie for teachers. And this goes of course quite nicely with your self-reflection idea and self-reflection tools. So we are developing this together with our research center. And then indeed we want to support member states to diversify and enrich teachers and school leaders' careers. So we are supporting them to develop kind of frameworks which are not only about, let's say, competence development or professional development, but also linked to various encouraging ways of trying out different jobs where they are horizontally or vertically towards leadership, but so that there is something for everyone. The attractiveness of the teaching profession is of course an issue, and one idea that we have and we are now planning is to create a European innovative teaching prize, which complements the e-twinning prizes, the European language label, the Amos prize for teaching Europe, and of course the other prizes that are there in our member states. You mentioned also the teacher academies, and the idea here is indeed to bring together the teacher education providers of initial education and also for continuous education. And the idea is that they would organize concrete learning opportunities for teachers, but they would also become a kind of networks and communities of practice that can then inform national and European teacher education policies. Mobility was of course mentioned, and we know the benefits of mobility, but we still face quite a lot of barriers and obstacles like scheduling, recognition, replacement teachers to be found, etc., etc. So here the idea is to create a kind of framework, policy framework that can then help teacher providers and education providers to make learning mobility as an integral part of teacher education, initial and continuous. And I finally also want to highlight the role of e-twinning and the school education gateway in terms of teachers becoming more, let's say, feeling that they belong to a teaching community, teachers community, and they learn together, and they have this idea of learning together and creating projects, because that is of course extremely important for the future. So the bottom line, if you read those communications, is indeed to have a seamless continuum from initial teacher education to induction, mentoring, and to continuing professional development with a lot of variety and attractiveness of the profession. So if I may, as an ex-teacher, as you mentioned, give you some homework, I would ask you to read those communications, because I feel that when you do so, you will feel proud of your own project, because there are so nice links between your work and these ambitions of European Commission that we have now put forward. So please do that, feel proud of your project. And I also want personally congratulate you for this excellent work that you have been doing. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, and you even beat the bell, so I'm really appreciative. Thank you, and I will try, if you could put possibly the links to those 2 reports into the chat.
Yes,
then I'm sure there will be other people on the conference as well who will do their homework. But for us, yes, certainly, and we're very pleased that this work feeds so directly into some of these European and global initiatives. And thank you very much from one fellow SEND teacher to another. Thank you.